So I would like to discuss my book, and I'm going to release it soon on Amazon. And it's called Sam Harris. He's a Buddhist, and he's one of the most important critics of Islam today. And he criticizes all religions, but I'd like to show a couple of things in my book. The first thing is that he claims to be an atheist who is attacking all religions, but Sam Harris is actually a Buddhist who only attacks Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. He thinks religions that have reincarnationism or Dharmism in them are inherently more peaceful than other religions. So I think it's some misrepresentation on his behalf to call himself a spokesman for atheists all over. There are several important critiques of him, I think, and of his ideas, which I'm not sure. I'm not sure where to start, but he has this YouTube debate, which is very famous, and I'm replying actually to most of these people on YouTube. He has this YouTube debate where he debates a Christian minister, Dr. William Lane Craig, and he's an evangelical who did his PhD thesis on Islam and medieval Islamic philosophy, and he actually uses that as his proof of God and other things. So he's actually borrowing from Islamic ideas, even though he's not a fan of Islam. And so what he says is that if there is no creator God, what is an objective basis for morality? And Harris says, well, it's the well-being and suffering of all creatures. But who's to say that? The point is that there's no one to say that Nietzsche and Ayn Rand and others are not wrong if there's no overarching metaphysical truths. And I think that's one of the points of my book, is that Harris is not a materialist, and he's not a secularist, and he's not an atheist even. He actually agrees with religion on a great many things, and he's very religious in his own way. He just doesn't want you to know it. So I think another critique then for Harris is that he says morality is as knowable as physics. That's quite an astonishing statement to make, because we use physics to go to the moon. We use physics to move a fridge or a piano or something. So physics is not imprecise. Physics can give us whatever answers it says it can give us. It's very precise. And morality, then, Harris says in his first TED Talk, there are some questions that morality, we may never be able to have a moral answer to, like how many kids you should have, or is it a good idea to bomb Iran, and things like that. So I don't understand what I'd like Harris to explain, if I ever get to speak to him, what he means then when he says morality is as knowable as physics, because that's news to me. Haven't human beings been fighting about morality for thousands of years? And so my point is that Harris doesn't have any answers. All he has are approximations of answers, and he gives this morality of how we shouldn't be like the opposite of the Taliban. The Taliban cover up women and beat women, and yet our society, degrades women and things like that. So I think he inadvertently winds up saying that there are different moral truths, and they vary from country to country and age to age, which is a postmodern thing to say. But I'm not going to get into that. And then finally, the point is that I think Harris basically admits Jesus, and the Dalai Lama and other prophetic figures and their truth. So if he admits that, then he's actually conceding the Islamic idea that God sends messengers and saints and angels and books to guide us. So if Harris tells me that he believes in some of those messengers, and he believes that they taught spiritual truths and they have reality behind them, and they're not just madmen or charlatans, then you're making pretty astonishing statements for somebody who claims to be, or somebody who's described as the preeminent atheist writer and thinker in America. He says in his debate with Dr. William Lane Craig, our life is more meaningful than a cockroach. And yet when you look at his debate with Rabbi David Wolpe, the rabbi is the one who's always talking about meaning and how important meaning is to our lives. And so religion is just one of the earliest tools that we have for playing with meaning and giving meaning to our life. And so anybody who's opposed to religion is opposing one of like the earliest tools and earliest primitive and primordial aspects of our psyche. So I'm saying in this book that Harris is not a rational post-Enlightenment French revolutionary thinker as he claims to be. You know, he's not. He shouldn't be on the cover of Reason magazine. But he's a Buddhist who does not like Allah and Yahweh and Semitic monotheism. Other religions don't seem to bother him. He's been called one of the ballsiest writers in America, and I wonder why somebody claims that for him, because he doesn't even question the sanctity of spiritual men. I feel like once you do that, once you concede that there's something real in those charismatic founders of the religions and charismatic figures, you've lost the whole debate, because yes, that's all we have to say. Those charismatic men and women are onto something, and if they're onto something, then all the material stuff that you see all around you, it's worthless. And if you admit that, then I don't really have to convince you of anything, because you already agree with me. Harris, however, what his real agenda is Islamophobia. He uses Islam, and he attacks Islam at every opportunity, and he uses Islam to as a metaphor to attack other religions. And so he winds up, okay, so he's talking to liberals and he's talking to atheists, and he's saying, like, you know, you should go along with me because I'm a secular modern thinker. But then to conservatives, he's offering this thing, well, Islam is bad and Islam is a threat and Islam is somehow more dangerous or more patriarchal than other religions, and that's just like it's. I feel like it's a ploy. I mean, I wouldn't presume to say what's inside someone's head. So in the Islamic Middle Ages, the Ibn Ghazali and Averroes or Ibn Sina, they used to trade insults in their book covers, and so that's why I really wanted to insult Sam Harris in this book cover, and in my title of my book, and I mean, it's not an insult, but it's just a critique that he's this like new atheist writer. He's put in with Dawkins and Hitchens and Dennett, and I don't know, this guy's different, and you see it in the debates with Christopher Hitchens that he has. If you watch enough of them on YouTube, I have a degree in religion, comparative religion from Hunter College, so I find religion very fascinating, and these discussions are very, very interesting. But you know, Harris and Hitchens frequently put on a front that they were united on a great many things, but no, they were just tag teaming and beating up evangelical Christians intellectually and things like that. So they really weren't on the same page about a lot of that. You know, Harris used to say, Hitchens, on the other hand, he used to say there is no such thing as a religion or peace. You know, the problem is not with Islam, but in general with religion, period. So Harris is a very different creature, and I can respect an atheist. I can respect somebody who says, I only believe in what I see. But, you know, if somebody just says, I think Islam is the problem, and I think Judaism is the problem, and I think Christianity is the problem, but, you know, Buddha and Krishna are pretty legit figures, and so you have a pretty serious contradiction on your hand if you're going to call yourself an atheist. I do, however, have a different view about religion. I invite everybody to think of religion in a different way in this book. And what religion to me really represents is humanism. And the same way, like, I see, Jesus being put to death. I see Socrates being put to death. I see, other founders of major religions having to undergo societal rejection. And Nietzsche talks about this. Nietzsche says that there is a morality inversion where the weak come to power, and then they remove power from the strong. And according to Nietzsche, the strong should just be allowed to rape and pillage and kill people, and seize their way to the top. And religion represents the opposite of that. Religion represents altruism. Religion represents charity. Religion represents reaching out to your fellow man and woman, and it's an instinct. And Nietzsche represents the opposite of it, and there's a reason why Ayn Rand goes after, is descended from Nietzsche, and she's the most important capitalist and Republican thinker today. Her books are flying off the shelves. So, I invite people in my book to look at religion from not only a perspective of, do you believe in God, and whose God do you believe in, and which prophet do you believe in, but it's about something deeper and greater, about our role, our growth as a species, our relationship to this planet, our relationship to each other, our relationship to the countries of the world, and our relationship to the homeless person on our block, and our relationship to the poor relatives in our family. So to me, that is what religion represents, and the opposite of that would be Nietzsche and capitalism and Ayn Rand. So, religion should not be a place where you discourage discussion of rational contemplation of our existence. To me, religion comes from a rational contemplation of our existence. Religion should not be judged, I say in my book, at the apex of empire. The Islamic Caliphate, or Christianity is the official religion of the Roman Empire, or the Holy Roman Empire, or the Catholic Church for the past 1,000 years, 2,000 years. It shouldn't be judged in that sense, because that's not religion, that's power, and so that's a different power trip. And if anybody is telling you that God wants you to give you money, or God wants you to raise really strict kids, and don't let them interact with others, and don't let them like, not assimilate, but don't let them know the world, or go to public school, or have non-Muslim friends, or non-Jewish friends, or religious friends, and things like that. That's somebody who wants to control their kids, and they're using religion as an excellent tool. But religion's not about that. Religion's about when that child is older, and that child realizes that the importance of compassion, and the importance of charity, and the importance of doing good work, and the importance of selfless action. And any religion you can go to will teach you the importance of all these things. Religion didn't invent them, and atheists can do very important and altruistic things, and I support anybody who, whether they're a socialist or a leftist, if they support humanity, and feeding people, and feeding hungry people, and elderly people, and visiting the sick, and all of these things, I am on their side. They are very good friends of mine, I would call them. So religion is not the Inquisition of the Catholic Church. That is an ideological power grab. But if you look at the humble birth of Jesus Christ, and if you look at, peace be upon him, and if you look at, I feel like a good analogy would be government. Our own government, the United States government, is one of the largest executioners on the planet Earth, and along with China and Saudi Arabia and other terrible regimes like Iran. And a government can be used to do something good, and a government can be used to do something bad. It can be a power grab. It can be used to dispossess tribal peoples in India so that they can have their lands confiscated, so a company can move in and mine it. Or it can be used to protect those people. So I feel like religion is an institution. Religion is not really an institution. Real religion is not an institution. Real religion is not found in institutions. It's not even found in books. So we have to see, instead of seeing like religious people and non-religious people, we need to start seeing people who are humanists and people who are not humanists. Because I can work with anyone who calls himself a humanist, a socialist or libertarian, or anybody who wants to, or a Christian, anybody who wants to feed hungry people, or things like that. We can do a lot of good work together. But if you're not a humanist, I can't do anything with you. You're gonna be selfish and worried about your own power. So therefore, I want to bring back this concept called religious humanism. In fact, religious humanism precedes secular humanism. They came up with the term secular humanism during the Enlightenment to differentiate it from the Catholic Church's idea of religious humanism. But I'm a religious humanist, and I feel like Sam Harris has not discussed that, or he's not considered that angle of St. Francis of Assisi may God have mercy upon him, or the Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, may God have mercy upon him, or or Saint Francis Xavier, like he defied the Catholic Church to go to Japan and preach and things like that. So, religious humanism is the original humanism. I mean, actually, Socrates had a form of humanism without religion, so he's the greatest saint of all. So, so by the same token, there's people who can be religious, but they're not humanists. They believe in God, but they don't believe in sharing with their fellow human beings. So, to me, that's an atheist, or that's a non-humanist. That's somebody that I can't work with. That's somebody who doesn't even understand what religion is. And so therefore you have prophets and saints and people who do good works. And then you have people who are not humanists, and they're worried about power. And so for me also then, the idea of religious fundamentalism comes in. And originally, actually, this book has two purposes. This book not only is designed to criticize Sam Harris and respond to his criticisms of Islam, but it's also designed to repudiate fundamentalism, Islamic fundamentalism, which to me is as materialistic as somebody who's, a Nietzschean or a Randian or a brutal capitalist. There's no morality if you're a fundamentalist. If you believe that God only loves you, and God only loves like your family and your people, then and other people's blood is cheap, then only God can help you, because there's nothing that can be done with you. You don't even know the sanctity of a human life. Like we are the greatest organism created. We were last on the evolutionary chain. Like and we've come to dominate the planet. And it's if you don't know how sacred a human life is, that you would speak of murdering. I don't think you know what religion is. But so therefore I reject fundamentalism, and I lump it together with not atheism, because you can be atheist and moral, but a brutal capitalist, or a Nietzschean, or a Malthusian, or white supremacists who just believe that a power grab or anyone who's a supremacist, a supremacist who believes that you can take something that belongs to someone else. So, in fact, I get into this very quickly in my book. There's two thinkers actually who are behind these two ideologies, and it goes back to Socrates, peace be upon him. There's Plato, and then there's Aristotle. So Plato is the altruism and mystics and spiritualists and religion and charity and communism and socialism. The idea that there's one world and we all got to share and we all got to survive, and our survival is mutual. And money isn't the only thing that's real. We are real, like people, and reducing human suffering and the well-being of conscious creatures. And yeah, I mean, that's the sanctity of conscious creatures. That to me comes from this metaphysical idea, because there's nothing written anywhere that says my life is sacred, except for a holy book or the text behind me or something. But it's not. If we lived in a barbaric world, and we did a few hundred years ago and a few thousand years ago, murder was not considered morally reprehensible, because we hadn't arrived at that stage of morality yet as a species, and we're getting there. I mean, we're still doing some pretty bad murders and some pretty bad things, but this ideal realm and this perfect realm where we borrow our ideas from, that's Plato. And Aristotle says, only believe in what you can see, only believe in the material, only I mean, Aristotle didn't say this, but this is how his ideas have been interpreted by Rand and Nietzsche and things like that. Aristotle believes in God, but the way he's being interpreted is that he's the representative of the materialists, the people who don't believe, who only science can explain everything. And this is the debate, and this is my problem with Harris, because Harris starts out claiming to be an Aristotelian. Harris starts out claiming to advocate for only scientific materialism. But once you really find out he's a Buddhist, he believes in a lot of ideas which are not materialist or scientific. So, secular humanists believe that people should be taken care of first, and religious humanists believe the same because God gave us souls, and those souls are the most sacred thing in the universe. So we believe in the same thing, we're just acting out of different reasons. As demonstrated before, Harris is a believer of reincarnation and not an Aristotelian or a secularist, but he is a fundamentalist, someone who does not believe. A fundamentalist, an Islamic fundamentalist, is someone who does not believe that all souls are equal or that souls can respond to prayers in the grave, and hence they are as bad as atheists. I like, leftist atheists, by the way. I like compassionate atheists a lot, but if somebody is a ruthless atheist and just believes I can grab whatever I can take and I don't have to answer to the police or the government or to God or other people, or to me that's a psychopath, right? So to me, if you're a fundamentalist, you're as bad as like a psychopath who just goes around killing people, and to me it's the same idea. So now that I have addressed Harris's ideas, I would like to refute Islamic fundamentalism, and it's very important that we discuss the ideas here, because Islamic fundamentalism is really a 19th century ideology founded by Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, who was and Lawrence of Arabia, who was it was a British plot to undermine the Ottoman Empire and bring down the Ottoman Caliphate. So this venomous ideology has taken over not only the majority of mosques today, but it becomes accepted as true Islam. Even like Muslims from generations who have been Sufis and mystics and believing in saints and things like that, their families today now, virtually all Muslims who speak English, and because of the Saudi Information Ministry pushing out all these pamphlets and documents, virtually all Muslims today have this idea that Saudi Arabian Islam is like the purest and everyone else's is like innovation. But they're the innovation. They were invented by a 19th century imperialist, a 20th century imperialist, and so you have to go back to what Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah is, the Islamic ideology for the past 1400 years. And unfortunately, because the Saudi Arabian Information Ministry has so much oil money at its power, all of the literature being disseminated today is not of a peaceful kind. It's of a kind that believes that Jews and Christians are going to forever be the enemies of Muslims, and there can be no cooperation with them. It's a kind that doesn't believe that children should, celebrate New Year's, or children should, participate in any events that their friends are going to, and things like that. I'm not saying, there's a whole bunch. I believe religion has a better way to show the world. Slight tangent. I'm against zoos in Islam, and I believe in Judaism as well. No man of God has ever taken a wild creature that God has made, on another continent, and taken it and put it in a cage and told it, like, I'm going to look at you now and you're here for my amusement. Like, this is not this is a modern thing. Earlier peoples did not believe that a monkey from Africa or a bird from South America or a tiger from India should be in Central Park, or should it be in the Bronx Zoo. Or San Diego, or whatever. Like, it's a wild creature. It should be in the wild. It doesn't exist for our amusement, and this is arrogance, and this is what the kings and the pharaohs used to do. And so, there's this primordial monotheism, primordial religion that Islam and Judaism really tap into, and they bounce off each other for that. But even Hinduism, also goes into it, and other religions. So I would really like to illuminate Muslims. So that part is meant for people. The first half of the book is meant for people who have heard atheist and conservative criticisms of Islam. liberals and conservatives, by the way, are very eager. People want to sell a xenophobic agenda. They're not confined to the right. There's plenty of people who are liberal and plenty xenophobic. So, I feel like to Muslims, I have to illustrate the idea that the true religion is not the garbage that you're reading from Saudi Arabia. That is these people are apostates. These people are usurpers, and these people are imperialist toys. And so what then is the ideology? What then is the original ideology before the Salafists managed to print all their material? I'd like to say that the Sunni sect of Islam, all the great Muslim scholars of the past 1400 years, Ibn Arabi rahmatullah alayh, Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayh, Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah alayh, all of them, name anybody, Yusuf Qandlawi rahmatullah alayh, even Albani, even though I don't really like him too much, even Albani though, the belief is that prophets, this is universal by the way in all religions, but Islam definitely has this in all of our literature. The rule is that prophets and saints are alive in the grave, and they can hear you when you send prayers to them. Another secret of mysticism, and this is what I reveal in my book, is that we are all saints when we do the right things. And so therefore, the high-ranking one of us, and eventually all of us, will be alive in the grave, and we can hear prayers sent to us in the grave. But still, you should ask the high-ranking saints, and not like your friend. And there are celestial temples. There is a copy of the Kaaba in Mecca, in heaven. There's also a copy of the Temple of Jerusalem in heaven. And angels worship in that celestial temple. Thousands and thousands and thousands of them every day. And so, if you don't believe this, you're not a Muslim. And this is meant for Muslims. Then there's the idea of sacred architecture. Why do so many temples? They all have this outer courtyard, inner courtyard, garden, outer sanctum, inner sanctum. So, what's going on here? Like, what's the reason why religions that can be on different continents and different places that are so far apart, how could they be having the same architecture? Finally, I also discuss the lineage and transmission. All of knowledge is subjective. Like you can say, well, science and objective and all that, but it's taught from person to person, and it's interpreted from person to person. So there's all of knowledge, whether it's musicians or saints or kung fu masters, they can trace, well, who is your master, and who is your master, and who is his master, and who is his master, and so on and so on. So going back to the founder of the religion or whatever. So when you have 36 generations, 100 generations going back of a chain of transmission, there's something that's passed from the original master at the top to the disciple who's receiving the initiation in the present day. And finally, there is the idea of hidden saints. This exists in all religions, but also Islam has it as well. We have the Khizr alayhi salam. He's called the Elijah in Judaism. But he's immortal, and he's walking around, and he performs miracles here and there, and you don't even know what he's doing. Like he's just slipping out in the middle of the night and doing good works. And so the interesting thing is though, Salafism denies this because they're Aristotelians, they're materialists, they're Nietzscheans, they're ruthless capitalists, they're amoral nihilists. And the opposite of that though is Sufism and mysticism and Gnosticism and this pluralism and peacefulness and tolerance, and that is what we've lost. Once you remove the Plato from Islam, once you remove the compassion and all this Platonic theory, and I go into my book part 2, part 3 of how this is really Platonic theory, but it's found in all religions. So Orthodox Jews, Protestants, Catholics, Hindus, Baha'i, Shia, Eastern Orthodox, all religions believe in these 6 things that I've said. Prophets and saints are alive in the grave and can hear prayers sent to them. We're all saints, and so therefore we'll all be alive in the grave. And celestial temples, sacred architecture, lineage and transmission of the master, and the hidden saints. This is found across all religions. And so once you remove these beliefs from religion, it becomes the Nietzschean power grab. And you have horrific acts of violence, and you have sociopathic destruction, in the name of religion. So there is a primordial religion beyond the various laws and deities of all the other religions. And it can go back farther. It goes back farther to Proto-Greek, Minoan civilization, and ancient Egypt, and even things like that. So these religion then is really, I like to define it then, if I could do it in the style of Michel Foucault, who's looking at things constantly from a different way. Religion really then is a personality cult of a particular saint, and specific beliefs about the miracles of that saint. No one has ever seen God, and prophets do not exist anymore. So a saint is the only proof of God and his messengers that we have today. And some saints are Satgurus who will come like once every 1,000 years, and some saints are hidden, and we don't even know about them, and yet they're walking around today. And there's a hierarchy, but a true saint is never influenced by status. Like, we have no way of knowing who's like the highest saint in the world. I got a couple ideas, but I guarantee you he's not rich, and he's not famous, and he's not on TV. It's going to be a really humble, poor man or woman. And they're going to live in absolute trust and faith in God. And God will provide miracles for them every day and feed them out of like nothing. They'll just be pulling it in all the time. So fundamentalism, Islamic or any other religion, rejects these doctrines and attempts to bring about a modern reinterpretation. Modern is the operating word here, right? Because Michel Foucault is a postmodernist, and this is really modernism and imperialism infused into the 1400-year religion of Islam, and that's the catastrophe. So Salafist fundamentalism is a reinterpretation which looks at itself as purifying the faith from medieval spiritual beliefs. But unfortunately, when religion loses its soul by taking away this from it, and it descends into nihilistic violence. So my religion, I feel, which is sainthood and the perennial religion, the universal in all religions, it is it's what's common to all the religions. And I feel like if there's parallel doctrines in all these different ideas and all these different human ideologies and philosophies, then there's something going on. The same way capitalism without a soul leads to intentional famine and economic ruin and ecological ruin, and nationalism without a soul leads to genocide and ethnic cleansing, religion without a soul leads to suicide bombings and sociopathic violence. And so therefore I have a message to Western viewers and of who might have been influenced by Sam Harris's critique of Islam, but I also would like to speak to Muslims to know their past and to know their legacy and to know where the truth of Islam comes from. Because when I was in high school, I used to read all those Saudi information ministry manuals, and I was very influenced by it, and I justified suicide bombings and things like that. But I don't know if I took it out of my book. I'm still editing it. But there's a very important critique that one of Harris's colleagues does of religion. And his name is Daniel Dennett. And he gave a TED Talk on this. But he says, like, there's an ant that has... it's on the grass, and the cow eats this ant, and it goes into the cow's stomach. And then the ant comes out in the feces of the cow. But it dies. But why did the ant do that? Why did the ant kill itself? Why did it wait to go on a stalk of grass and wait for the cow to eat it? And Dennett, who's an evolutionary biologist or something, he says that the ant has a parasite in it, which hijacked the ant's brain, and the parasite wanted to reproduce in the cow's stomach and come out on the other end. So the ant is not smart. The ant is actually very stupid, and it's been hijacked by a parasite. So he makes this analogy that a suicide bombing is the same thing, where religion has hijacked the mind of an organism, a human being in this case, and caused it to destroy himself by wrapping explosives around himself. And Harris also starts off his book this way. Harris says in The End of Faith, chapter 1, he says that why do Muslims celebrate suicide bombings, and the problem then is Islam, because somebody has done something horrific and violence, and somebody has murdered other people and then killed himself, or one or the other. And so why would people celebrate this? What is this delusion? And it's a very good criticism, and it's a very good paradigm, and I'm glad people are thinking, and it's rational. Like, we can have a rational discussion about this. But to me, this is a problem of any ideology. Kamikaze pilots during World War II, or Tamil tigers using suicide bombing as a tactic. Religion is not the only thing that can go inside a person's head and cause them to do delusional things. And it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with the Tamil liberation movement, or the imperial cult of Japan, or I don't know. There probably is something wrong with an emperor being in charge of a country, controlling all the resources. But any ideology can be used to control a human being and can corrupt a human being, whether it's nationalism or greed or anything. So this is hardly unique to Islam. This is hardly unique to religion. And I feel like all these new atheist writers are simply just throwing out these weak arguments, and it doesn't help that some people who are religious, like Reza Aslan represented Islam, and Dinesh D'Souza represented Christianity. I mean, it doesn't help that they're kind of buffoons and they're not in a position to defend religion. So I am going to come out with this book, hopefully within the next month, and it'll discuss all these things and more. And there's going to be a bonus chapter. I just wrote this down today. The bonus chapter is going to be my favorite ayats of the Quran, and exegesis of Surah 53, chapter 53, Surah An-Najm. And it'll describe what Islam really is, in the sense that even Muslims today will tell you that the Christian holy books or the Jewish holy books are wrong. But in this chapter of the Quran, it says, "Am lam yunabba bima fi suhufi Musa," and it says, "Have you not read what is in the scriptures of Moses?" So the Quranic theory, I wind up agreeing with the Quranic theory, and even Sam Harris agrees with the Quranic theory, that God sends messengers and saints to spread His message and stuff, but to show humanity the right way. And so Harris has already admitted the reality of messengers and saints. So even Muslims, though, they should realize that the other religions are not false. Ibn Arabi, Shaykhul Islam, rahmatullah alayh, he says that the other religions are like stars in the night sky. They were important for thousands of years for helping us navigate and illuminate the world, navigating the world. But Islam, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him, he's like the sun. And when the sun comes out, then all the stars, their brightness doesn't compare. But anybody who says that the other religions are not right lights or false lights, they're in complete delusion. So, contrary to what Sam Harris says, there is pluralism and harmony in Islam. And contrary to what the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia says and its textbooks, there is pluralism and harmony in Islam. And I feel like we're going to have to step away from both of those paradigms in order to live in a more harmonious global world. Buy my book. It's going to be like $3 on Amazon. It's going to be called Sam Harris is a Buddhist, and there's a longer title, but I'm not sure. I've decided on it. Thank you very much for watching me. Have a good day.